Hello, my friends. Assalamu alaikum. Hope all is well. My friends, today we will study verse 72 of chapter 33, that is Surah Al-Ahzab, and we'll try to understand its meanings and its message. First, the Arabic. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna aradna al-amanata ala samawati wal-ardi wal-jibali فأبينا أن يحملنها وأشفقنا منها وحملها الإنسان إنه كان ظلوما جهولا. Now the translation. Indeed, we offered the trust to the heavens and the earth and the mountains, and they declined to bear it and feared it. But man undertook to bear it. Indeed, he was unjust and ignorant. My friends, let's focus on the word amana or amanat in this verse first. This is very crucial because different people have different understanding of this term. For example, there are scholars who regard free will as amanat in this verse, whereas there are others who think it means something else, and we will certainly explore that something else in this brief talk. Let's talk about the concept of free will in this context first. I mean, free will as amanat. My friends, when God made us, free will was a part of us. We are referred to as nafus in Quran. And it was due to this free will that we entered into a covenant with Allah, which is mentioned in verse 172 of chapter 7. Let me read the translation of that as well. It states, "And mention when your Lord took from the children of Adam, from their loins, their descendants, and made them testify of themselves, saying to them, Am I not your Lord? They said, Yes, we have testified this, lest you should say on the day of resurrection, Indeed, we were of this unaware." Let's look at the next verse as well because it will be helpful in understanding the subject we are discussing. The next verse, that is 173, states, "Or say, Our fathers worshipped idols before us, and we as their descendants followed them. Would you then destroy us because of what the followers of falsehood have done?" My friends, it is very clear from the translation of these two verses that we had free will when we entered into covenant, otherwise we couldn't have talked in this manner. I hope you would agree with that. One more point, and that is, as a matter of general understanding or as a matter of principle, when somebody enters into a covenant, it also means that the individual has a complete personality. So we were complete personalities. I mean nufus. Nufus were complete personalities at that time. Number two, the person entering into the covenant must have a reasonable or pretty good understanding of the nature of covenant. He or she must understand what is that covenant, and therefore must possess the ability to deliver on that. These are very important points to be understood at this time. So my friends, based on what I have discussed so far, it seems reasonable not to regard amanat as free will. Then, what is amanat? We must try to understand that. My friends, before we move forward, let me also mention that it is very important to have a very clear understanding of two concepts. Number one, concept of God, and number 2, concept of self. Both these subjects have been discussed in pretty good detail in my YouTube channel titled Grand Scheme of God in the Light of Quran. So please visit that channel and go through the relevant videos so you can have a good grasp of these two concepts. Because without having a good understanding of these two concepts, it becomes very difficult, I would rather say almost impossible, to understand this whole subject matter we are trying to handle now. However, I will have to mention a few things here because otherwise this talk may not be understandable. My friends, according to the author of the Grand Scheme of God in the Light of Quran, the concept of self is as follows. We are basically souls. We have a body which is a carrier, and then God has blessed us with Ruh. What is Ruh? Ruh is actually divine spark, what we call conscience in English or Zamir in Urdu. It's very important to understand this, otherwise we would be lost. May I also mention that the word Ruh has been used for different meanings in the Quran. My friends, one of my talks in the YouTube channel deals with the various uses of this term, Ruh. So I would strongly urge you to please listen to that because it would make things easier to understand. But I'll tell you 2-3 examples of that so that we can understand this subject matter better. For instance, in Quran, Ruh is used for Angel Gabriel, it is used for revelation, and it is also used for divine spark. These are a few examples of its usages. My friends, the tripartite concept of self to which I referred to, which tells us that man constitutes 3 elements, soul, body, and Ruh. This concept is very much prevalent among Jews and Christians. Therefore, it is nothing new. In addition, the famous poet from South Asia, Allama Iqbal, underlines this fact in his poetry. He says, अगर ना हो तुझे उलझन तो खोल कर कह दूं वजूद हज़रत इंसान ना रूह है ना बदन. And Iqbal derived this concept from verse 19 of chapter 59. Let me translate that for the English readers. If you do not get much disturbed, to you this truth I may divulge, that real self of man is neither ruh nor body. My friends, it is very clear from this verse of Iqbal that he did not regard our true self as body, that is badan, or ruh, that is divine spark. So according to this, we are souls, and soul is not ruh. I hope that is clear. My friends, according to the author of the book, The Grand Scheme of God in the Light of Quran, this amanat actually refers to divine spark, ruh. Now let's explore as to why earth and mountains and heavens declined to bear this burden. Why is that? To understand that, let's refer to verse 44 of chapter 17. It states, "The 7 heavens and the earth and all beings therein declare His glory. There is not a thing but celebrates His praise," means Allah's praise, "and yet ye understand not how they declare His glory." My friends, it is very clear from this verse that all living entities are in submission to God except the ones who are given free will, like human beings and jinns. And all the creations of Allah are in submission to Him, and they do praise Allah. They declare His glory. And this tells us clearly that they have a sense of understanding, which we can't understand, but if they are in submission and declaring Allah's glory, that is a very clear sign that they are living entities, and we can't know anything beyond that. Anyway, coming to the main point, why did they decline to bear this burden of ruh? My friends, it seems reasonable to say that since they understood their capacity, they understood what they can bear and what they can take care of, and therefore they were very hesitant to undertake this big responsibility. I hope that is clear. And now coming to human beings, why did they take this responsibility? My friends, first of all, human beings have free will. Secondly, according to the Quran verse, they are zaluman jahula. They are unjust and ignorant. It does not mean that everybody is like that. It basically means that the ones who will not submit before Allah, they will act like this. For example, look at our world. Everybody is desirous of becoming something big, like president or prime minister of a country, knowing very well what it entails, what are the nature of responsibilities he or she will have to perform. Still, they desire to have these offices, these big positions, and we also know how many of them actually do justice with these ranks and positions. This tells us that we very often behave like this. This is our general behavior. Same is the case with parents. How many parents actually understand the responsibility of a father or a mother? This is another example of how we behave in general. But my friends, those who submit before Allah, they come out of this category. And that is the reason they don't behave like zaluman jahula. Rather, they live in submission of Allah and take care of this amana, this divine spark very well. This divine spark refers to our conscience, and such people who submit before Allah, they listen to this conscience and therefore make good decisions. My friends, I hope we have understood this concept little better than before. Of course, this is human work. If you find something more reasonable, more plausible, please share that. But this is what I have learned so far through my own work and with the help of the author of the book, The Grand Scheme of God in the Light of Quran. Thank you for listening and hope to see you some other time. Assalamu alaikum.